Ever wonder what it would feel like to own a piece of the planet so big it actually changes the map? Not a house, not an island, not even a country. The whole Arctic. Picture it. You're sitting in some quiet office, a lawyer slides a single sheet of paper across the desk. You scribble your name at the bottom, and just like that, every frozen inch of the top of the world is yours. The ice, the ocean underneath it, the polar bears, the North Pole itself, the actual spot every compass on Earth is pointing at. All of it, yours. So, what do you even do with something like that? Okay, first things first, you're rich. Like, break the calculator, run out of zeros rich. Because sitting under all that ice is an absolute jackpot. The U.S. Geological Survey estimates the Arctic holds around 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and roughly 30% of its undiscovered natural gas. 30%. That's not a typo. You basically just inherited the world's last untouched gas station, except it's the size of a continent and nobody else has the keys. And oil and gas are just the appetizer. Down there, you've got minerals, rare earth elements, nickel, the exact stuff every phone, every laptop, every electric car battery on the planet is starving for. You've got fish, enormous, endless amounts of fish. And then there's the sneaky valuable part almost nobody thinks about: shipping lanes. See, as the ice thins, ships can start cutting straight across the top of the globe instead of sailing all the way around the bottom of the world. A cargo route from Asia to Europe that used to eat up weeks suddenly slashed way down, and every single ship that wants to take your shortcut pays you a toll on the roof of the planet. So let's tally it up. You're an oil baron, a mineral king. You run a fishery bigger than most nations, and you own the fastest shortcut on Earth. The phone starts ringing and it doesn't stop. Presidents want meetings. Billionaires suddenly remember your birthday. Your close friends list mysteriously triples overnight. You're not just wealthy, you're basically a superpower with a heartbeat. Or are you? Here's the thing nobody mentions while they're handing you that shiny deed: you can't actually own the Arctic. Not you, not anyone. There is no single owner, no master key, no title deed sitting in a vault waiting for the right signature. The Arctic Ocean is governed by international law, a big agreement called UNCLOS, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Under it, the countries that touch the Arctic, Russia, Canada, the United States, Norway, Denmark, through Greenland, each control a zone stretching out from their own coastlines. But the deep center of the Arctic Ocean, including the literal North Pole, sits in international waters. It belongs to everyone, which is a fancy way of saying it belongs to no one. So that paper you signed? Yeah, it's not a deed, it's a dare. Because the second you try to actually enforce your ownership, you stop being a landlord and start being a problem. You're not collecting rent. You're picking a fight with every nation that borders that ocean at the exact same time over the most strategically loaded stretch of water on the planet. Good luck with that meeting. But fine, let's be generous. Let's say you somehow pull it off. The world shrugs and says, okay, weird flex, but it's yours. Congratulations. Now comes the real trap, the one that actually matters. To turn that frozen jackpot into money, you have to dig it up, drill the oil, mine the metals, open the shipping lanes. And to do all of that, you have to melt the ice to reach it. And that is exactly where the whole dream quietly falls apart. Because the Arctic's real value was never the oil underneath it. Stop and think about what that ice actually does every single day for free. It's white. And white reflects sunlight. It bounces the sun's heat straight back out into space before it can do any damage. Scientists call this the albedo effect, and it makes the Arctic something like the planet's mirror, its air conditioner, the thermostat quietly keeping the whole house at a livable temperature. Now melted, that bright white ice turns into dark open ocean. And dark water doesn't reflect heat, it drinks it in, which warms the water, which melts more ice, which exposes more dark water, which absorbs even more heat. It's a loop that feeds itself, and here's the terrifying part. Once it really gets rolling, you don't get to just flip a switch and turn it back off. And it gets heavier than that. Underneath the frozen Arctic ground, in the permafrost, sits a staggering amount of carbon and methane, locked away and building up over thousands of years. Keep it frozen, it stays put and stays quiet. Thaw it, and it starts leaking those gases up into the atmosphere, heating the planet even faster. The ground itself becomes a slow motion emergency. So here's your billion-dollar paradox, laid out plain. The only way to cash in your Arctic is to destroy the exact thing that made it priceless in the first place. You'd end up a trillionaire standing on a planet with drowning coastlines, broken weather patterns, and cities people used to be able to live in. The single richest person alive on a sinking ship. That's the deal. Nobody puts it on the paper, but that's the deal. The Arctic isn't valuable because of what you can rip out of it. It's valuable because of what it quietly does while you leave it completely alone. It keeps the entire system running. And the system includes small stuff, like coastlines staying where they are, and weather behaving, and the rest of us getting to have a normal summer. This is the difference between two words we throw around like they mean the same thing: price and value. Price is what you can sell a thing for. Value is what it's actually worth to everyone, whether or not it's ever for sale. And some things carry their highest value precisely because nobody owns them and nobody ever cashes them in. The ice, the air, the open ocean, we call these the commons. The things we all quietly depend on, and none of us gets to sell. And the only reason they still exist, the whole reason they made it this far, is that they were never anyone's to sell in the first place. Which is a strange, backwards kind of wealth when you really sit with it. The most valuable thing you could ever own up there is worth the most the moment you agree not to own it at all. So let me hand it back to you. You've got the deed in your hand right now. 2 doors. Behind door 1, you leave the Arctic frozen and untouched. Worth basically nothing in your bank account. But the planet's thermostat keeps humming along, and the world stays the world. Behind door 2, you melt it all down into the single biggest fortune in human history, and live like a god on a planet that's slowly going under. Be honest with me. Not the polite answer. The real one. Which door are you actually walking through? And if it's door 2, what's the number? What's the price that would genuinely tempt you to do it? Drop it in the comments. I want the honest ones, not the nice ones. And yeah, I'm reading every single one.